Welcome to Run It Back Philly. DJ Eastwood doesn't need your mother-f***ing intro.
TJ, what's up, my man?
Hello, DJ Eastwood. Welcome
What's
back
going
to
on, bro?
the YouTube world. We missed you.
Thank you, sir. It's nice to be here, man. It's
Yep.
nice to be back.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back on your show, man. And I want to talk a little bit about the Sixers, but also about the Eagles game coming up this weekend.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm
let's
also
do it.
going to the Bengals game this weekend against the Raiders, so that'll be an interesting atmosphere. Hopefully,
You're going
we
to
can
the
get our
Bengals.
first playoff win.
You live near there?
Yeah, I live near Cincinnati. Yeah, I live around there. So, I'm a Bengals and Eagles fan. I kind of softly cover both teams on my podcast, the TJ Martino podcast. Soft plug.
Nice.
But yeah,
shout out to the TJ Martino podcast, everybody. Go subscribe to the TJ Martino podcast. As a Bengals fan, it's nice for you recently since they've sucked forever.
We've been in the mud, man. I'll tell you what. We've been in the mud.
It's nice to have a young stud quarterback and a top 5 or 10 wide receiver, right?
Oh man, I mean it, and I honestly predicted this year because I am not a fan of Zach Taylor or Nick Sirianni. Both coaches, I think they kind of run a similar trajectory, even though Zach Taylor has a little bit more under his resume in terms of coaching. But I've not been a fan of Zach Taylor this year in his play calling, but I just think this team has so much talent that like it's overriding his like poor decision making and situational management, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a surprise year. I thought the Bengals were going to win about 5 or 6 games this year. That's what I predicted. And they've totally blown me out of the water in that regard.
That's where I had the Eagles, and I'm hearing about it every day now.
Yeah, I had the Eagles at about 4 or 5 wins. So
yeah. So do the Philadelphia Eagles stand a chance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday?
Yeah, I do think they do, man. I Tampa Bay, for me, I just think the thing is that they're going to exploit the zone coverage that the Eagles play a lot. And Jonathan Gannon, for me, he's going to be the real decision maker and deciding factor for this defense and for this team in the playoffs. Because I mean, that's the thing. People say the common phrase is defenses win championships, right? So like, with that being said, it's really going to come down to, is this team going to be able to play reliable zone coverage? Because Tom Brady, man, we've seen him absolutely roast zones, and this team a lot, especially in the football team Washington game. I noticed a lot that they were giving up the middle of the field on a lot of plays defensively, and it allowed Heineke to kind of exploit that and move the ball on the field. I mean, remember they were about to score in that game and take the lead, so it's like, had we not made a big play there because of the zone coverage, I guess, it could have turned south. So I don't know. With Brady, it's a different animal, and he's going to come, he's going to play, he's going to make plays, and there's going to be a lot of dumping to the tight ends, dumping to the flat, into the hook a lot, and really trying to exploit those linebackers. So it's going to be interesting. But I think there's definitely a really good chance, and it's just going to come down to the Eagles' offense to run the football, man, run the football.
Yeah. When you think about Tom Brady, see, I think there is 0% chance that the Eagles can beat the Buccaneers on Sunday, and I'm going to tell you why.
Wow. Okay, interesting.
Well, you kind of just said it. Tom Brady over the middle of the field, and the Philadelphia Eagles have given up the middle of the field the entire season.
Right.
And
the entire year.
You add in Gronkowski matched up with our linebacker
on the post.
I really think Tom Brady. This isn't like, a lot of people, well, what happened last time we played Tom Brady? That was a totally different defense.
Yeah.
I am afraid this is going to be very easy for Tom Brady to drive
right
down the field.
And the Buccaneers have a very good run defense, and that's the thing. If they can just make Nick Sirianni panic to the point where he's like, I'm in a playoff game, I need to get aggressive, I need to throw the football, and then he reverts back into week 1 through 4 Sirianni, where he's just, tossing balls into double coverage. And I mean, yeah, part of that's Hurts' fault too, but like, the play design for a lot of these things is not getting a lot of these young receivers that don't have a lot of confidence, dunk plays where they can dump them out to the flat and instead they just do a lot of screens and like try to get the ball out that way. Like they should do a lot more, whip routes and drive routes and really get these guys moving and get the ball in their hands instead of, a lot of stopping routes too they run. And I think they should really focus on like some plays for Devontae down the field to kind of set that whole offense up. And that's the thing. I mean, they've tried a little bit.
I don't want to cut you off right there, but I don't want to forget to say this because
no, sure, go ahead.
What you just said right there. I think they do try to get plays for Devontae down the field. I think the quarterback can't launch the ball down the field. He can't.
Yeah, that's been part of it.
Just,
true. That's fair.
It sucks when I say that, and people don't want to hear that. He can't launch the ball down the field. He can't.
Yeah, I was about to get into that.
And when he does try to launch it, it takes his entire body, and it's still like Devontae still has to come back for the ball. So,
yeah, and a lot of times he's thrown on the run too, and like because a lot of the time they're doing a lot of these rollouts, which I kind of called for at the beginning of the season. But like practically speaking, it's it's working a lot better than I thought it would. But yeah, Jalen's arm on the run is just kind of questionable, and his deep ball, you're right, it is kind of an issue, and I think it's going to be easily exploitable.
Yeah, I think you can do things with Jalen Hurts, but when you talk about Devontae Smith, he needs a guy with a cannon. You know what I mean? He needs a Donovan McNabb that 1st and 10 just launches it 65 yards.
Right.
And Devontae would probably have 1,300 yards receiving this year. But I'm not here to hate on Jalen Hurts. I think he does the most with what he has, and I think Nick Sirianni figured out how to do the most with what he has. But
right. Because he's used him. I think the smart thing is that he's building off what you said. I think he's used the run threat of Jalen Hurts a lot more effectively. And that was something I was calling for. I'm like more design runs, more of the run threat. If you're going to do the RPO, just go into it full and run like a college style offense. And I mean, I'm not saying you have to do like as fast of a pace, but like just trick the defense and get easy, plays to your playmakers out in the open field. And I mean, I think that's definitely something they've expanded on. And especially with, having the run be as successful it has, it's opened that game up. So like I said, I mean, I think there's definitely a possibility, but I agree. Jalen Hurts in a playoff atmosphere against the Bucs defense, who's already been hardened through, hard fights in the playoffs last year. It's not looking exciting. I think there's going to be some turnovers.
I'll be more than happy if I'm wrong, but I just don't see it happening. Real quick, give me your thoughts on the Sixers. What is going to happen at the trade deadline? Because Mr. Crockpot just buried me in my own grave.
Yeah, I listened. Yeah, and I'm not as I've been pretty pessimistic on the Sixers for a couple of years now. But I mean, honestly, I think there is a lot more of a silver lining to see here, and that is that we have young athletes, we have young guys that we can actually develop. And look, they're definitely flawed. I don't think Thibault is going to ever have an offensive game and all that. Like, yeah, we can go down those rabbit holes, but like I think that there is a young base here. It's just it all is for me. It's coaching and leadership, and not necessarily from Joel Embiid, but like from the Sixers organization as a whole. And the precedent they're setting with Ben Simmons, I think, has just been really ugly. But I mean, in terms of what they need to do, they need to dump the salary of Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris as soon as possible. And honestly, you're not going to get all-stars. So just get guys that can fit in this offense and make shots, get shot makers. I think a good guy would be Joe Ingles, if they can make that deal happen. I don't know if Utah would even want that, but like, I don't know, something like that, like for Tobias Harris or something, I think that just guys that fit in the offense, they don't necessarily need to be all-stars. They don't necessarily need to be the guy, but just get shot makers, Lou Williams types guys, they're out there and take a stab on some of these young guys. But you got to get off the salary. That's the number one thing. I mean, these are the two worst contracts in the NBA. So it's just, it's going to be hard to dump them and you're going to have to take an L, but you reap what you sow. And that's all. Exactly. Honestly, you got to take the L. And that's the thing. They're just not taking the L.
Right. I like that you said that because a lot of people are still on this, like, if it doesn't get us over the hump, we can't do it. If it's not a superstar, we can't do it.
Right.
If this, if that, we can't. What are we getting by not doing it? We got a player that's averaging 17 points a game and a player that's not playing. We don't have a choice. We have to do it. You're absolutely right. If you got to do a mini 3-year rebuild and hopefully Joel Embiid's still in some sort of his prime in 3 years, but at some point, if you're not getting a superstar,
the hourglass.
If you're not getting a superstar, you have to get rid of those contracts. You have to be able to fill out the roster with other players that are contributing to the team.
Exactly. No, and yeah, that's the thing. I think it's just, they gotta just take the L on this, and they gotta take the L to the face. And I think the fans will respect them more if they just say, look, we messed up. We overpaid Tobias, which, everybody was saying at the time, even though we were like, maybe he can become a 25 point per game scorer now because he's got the big contract, but he's kind of taking the money and running. So it's like, and especially after that interview you just showed, that was pretty disheartening. I mean, and I said he sounded depressed because, like, Yeah, I mean, he just sounded like it sounds like the air is just completely sucked out of that balloon, man.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at his interviews before the season where he was, kind of talking up like he was going to be the man, and like we were all kind of like, hey, let's see it. And he is what he is, and he's he's a bad contract, and you got to just take the L and move on, kind of like the Wizards did with John Wall. You just gotta. It didn't work out. And same thing we did with Markelle and other L's. I mean, we've been just taking a lot of L's, and I think we just got to we got Morey, we got these guys. I think we should just kind of sit back and build off Maxey, build off our young guys. Like I said, we got young talent to build off of here. It's just getting the right pieces around them. And like you said, Joel, though, he's on the clock, and we got to get, at least some guys that can contribute with the money that Tobias and Ben Simmons are just sucking out of our franchise right now.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Thanks for your insight, man. I'm going to get to some other people. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I'd love to have you on my show as well at some point.
Yeah, man, I'll keep in contact with you. We'll do a whole episode together. There's a lot more we could have talked about, definitely.
Sure.
Thanks, brother.
Sounds great.
Later.
Yep.